It's Tuesday. That means it's motivating the motivator time. And I just realized this motivator left her reading glasses somewhere. Hey, how is everybody doing? Oh, I see them over there in the distance. Wait. Okay. Hey, I'm back. That's it. So, happy Tuesday, y'all. Always excited for another installment here. Today we get to speak to Stacey Holman. Stacey is, she's pretty dope on her own terms, but I think the most special thing about her is she's my friend. So she and I have been friends, oh my gosh, since 98. Since 98. So we have a little bit of history. We got some history. And she's got a lot to say. She's a documentarian, which means she does documentaries. She has produced, she has worked on documentaries. She has her own documentary that she has completed. And let me tell you, that alone was a process for her to do that. She's also, my goodness, she has worked on some really amazing projects, and we're going to talk about those in a little bit. And oh my gosh, she is, I don't know, she's just one of my best friends. So until she gets on, which is actually right now, she's there. Hey. So I don't even have to say until she. And now that I've done my whole spiel, she is here and I'm excited. So she's going to be joining us in
Hello. Oh gosh, I got to pull myself back. Hold on.
Yeah, you do. Here I am talking about what a great documentarian you are, and you come in, you're like,
like close up. Wait. Okay, hold on. Further.
How's that, babe? How you feeling? Is that good?
That's good. Yeah.
That's good.
I
Hi,
have it
honey.
perfectly framed. Hold on. There we go. Yeah. There we go. Okay. Hi.
So I'm gonna tell you, and I'm gonna tell everybody. So I was kind of fretting. I was like, I wanted to have a new space, start to do things a little different, and I was like, oh, I gotta make sure my lighting is right before she's like, your lighting wasn't good enough.
I think that's really good. Do you have a donut?
In my hands?
No.
I'm just kidding. No, I have. Yeah, I got.
Don't act like you forgot your film world.
I know. You know what? I know. We'll chat about that in a second. But yeah, that was my before life. But that's how we met. So I'm glad I had that life. I mean, for other reasons, but it brought me to some amazingly beautiful, stupendous people like you, honey.
Thank you.
So I am going to have you say hello to the folks. I have something I forgot to bring up, but it's all right. I'll get in a second while you're chatting away. So everybody, welcome to the stage. Welcome to the stage. Welcome to my platform. How's that? This is Stacey Lynn Holman, Stacey L. Holman. Can I say the Lynn part? I just did it.
I'm not ashamed of my Lynn. I like my Lynn.
Okay, good. You shouldn't be. So this is Stacey Lynn Holman, documentarian, producer, friend, sister, because she's like a sister to me. We're very close. We've been through a lot together. And we're going to just discuss her documentaries, because her documentaries that she has worked on, there are a lot of them are based on historical events. And if you see some of these documentaries, it helps you to understand what's going on now. So all of these things, you got to look to the past to understand why and how things are happening in the present. And that helps to shape how things go later on. And I love the fact that Stacey has worked on so many different things that when you look at them, you're like, wow, I get it. That's what's going on. And that's what needs to change. So I'm starting to yap, and I don't want to do that because she's got to start yapping. So everybody, here's Stacey. Woo! What's up, boo-boo?
Hey, the heat. And I have AC, but it's so noisy when it's loud. But I'm going to look like I don't know what, but with my fan. So, a lady of leisure.
Honey, that is perfect for you.
Depending on what I'm talking about, I can switch to, Wakanda or no. But yeah, I don't know. There's a lot to say, but I'm always, first of all, thank you to one of my besties for inviting me, and accountability partner.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
For sure, for sure.
for sure.
But I always like to say I'm privileged to work on the projects that I've worked on, and that includes which really, if anyone watches PBS in the past like 10 years, you more than likely have seen one of the projects that I've worked on, and a lot of my projects have been with director Stanley Nelson. So we can go to Freedom. Oh my gosh, Freedom Riders. Freedom
Yes.
Summer. We got the freedoms down. We got
You
the
got the freedom. Yeah, right. Freedom Rider and Freedom Summer.
Freedom Rider.
Right.
Yeah, Freedom Riders, Freedom Summer. But then I did Jesse Owens in between that, and then my last project with Stanley Firelight Films was Telomere Rising, story of Black colleges and universities. And in between that, I worked on another PBS, a couple other PBS projects. One on Death of a President, which is Garfield, my homeboy, born in Ohio. Mary Lou Williams, who was a really renowned jazz artist that really nobody, I thought I was a jazz connoisseur, but I really truly am not a jazz connoisseur. But she is just, if anyone does not know her, they should get to know her because she is just an incredible woman. She wrote a mass, and performed it at St. Patrick's Cathedral. Black woman, yeah, it's fierce. Played with all the greats. So I was a co-producer on that. Then I've also done some of my own projects, Dressed Like Kings, which was my first entree into documentary world.
Wait, let's pause on that one first, because that was your baby, and her friends are like, oh my God, are we still talking about this? But this is dedication, okay? Let's talk about Dressed Like Kings for a second, because that's your baby. It took you 10 years, maybe longer, to birth that baby.
14 years, I think it took me.
Was it 14 years?
14 years? Wait, I'm kind of, yeah.
See?
Yeah, 2000, yeah. 2000,
yeah.
2003. 2002, I learned about the idea. 2003, I went to South Africa. And
so let's talk about Dressed Like Kings. Let's talk about your documentary and why it's so important.
Wait, which one?
Dressed Like Kings.
Oh, okay. I'm still doing the math.
That's your baby.
I mean, I think of anything, it definitely talks about resilience for sure, and just perseverance and getting through it. But it's for me, it was a story that resonated because it was something positive coming out of South Africa. It's about a group of dandies, or they call themselves Uswenka, which is swank, to dress well, to do these lovely, very interesting moves that they do. But I just saw in the story these men that, despite, they're not even blue collar workers, they're kind of like below blue collar workers, that they really that they recognize just the power.
It's finished. Yeah.
So in that sense, it's like it spoke also in terms of people here, and I'm just going to speak to African men here in this country, how, when they dress, they walk a little bit taller, their back is a little bit more arched, and they have a swag. They have
very true.
Swag, and they recognize
very true.
You're going to go into a boardroom with a suit, you're going to get a different reaction than if you go in with jeans. Now, granted, many years ago, you would not be able to get into a boardroom with jeans, let alone a suit, but you had more chances with a suit. But these men recognized that their self-worth, and they felt that their self-worth was based on the way they dressed. Now, the jobs that they had were not paying much, so it took them a year to at least buy the suit. Then you have the accessories. You can't just wear a suit. You got to have the shirt. You got to have the
got to have the cufflinks and the
shoes. And it wasn't like, they would find colors like a yellow, like this yellow. They would find socks that was that exact same yellow that would match their socks. So I'm like, and their tie. They were some Thai brothers, but they really recognized that during the week that, even though they were at these jobs that didn't recognize them, they could go to this hostel or wherever. They would go into a parking lot and grab some stranger and say, we'll give you, $5 dollars in terms of whatever the currency ran. That's a currency in South Africa, just to judge us. And these strangers have no idea what they're getting themselves into. But it's essentially, they do these kind of moves and swag. So if they have like, you know, a watch, they go like this to their watch, and they go like this if they have a tie. They're like this, look at my tie. But then whoever wins, they get a small cash prize, but they get bragging rights. And that was like, hey, and looking at these men, I'm like, oh my gosh, like you see your uncle, your father, you see your cousin, you see, you know, Mr. Jones, who you see every Sunday, look at his best, or on Friday, look at his best.
Yep.
And yeah, so it just to me was something that I felt needed to be told, and didn't expect to take 14 years to tell it, but I told it, you know, so that is,
oh my gosh. So wait, who is SCTBJB? They are funny.
They got jokes, I can imagine.
One of the questions that was asked was, who funded that 20-year project?
People like you. Everyone and their mother gave money to that, and I kid you not, mothers gave money to that project.
Yeah.
Eventually, well, I will say shout out to Tribeca, because I got money from, that was some of my biggest money I got first, because I won Tribeca All Access their first year. Then Black Public Media, which was formerly NBPC, National Black Party Consortium, came in with the finishing funds. However, in between that, it was just through grassroots, you know, some grace sprinkled over it, South African Airways. I was like just trying to get like a little discount. Why did I get like round trip business class tickets to South Africa on my second trip? I was like, okay, I'm only going international, like business class.
Yeah.
They spoiled me. But it was, it was, you know, definitely just and we'll get into this, running like a marathon, like literally pacing yourself. I mean, it was had some highs and had some really low lows. However, through it all, got to the finish line, and you know, proud of the work.
Yeah, that is, whether someone's making a film, whether someone's going for the corner office, whether someone is looking to open up a business, whatever it is, like stories like that are what people need to hear. If you have your eyes set on something, you just cannot stop. You can't stop. So there's the perseverance and determination and the support of community.
Yes.
You can't, you know, people always like, I did this alone. It's like, sometimes it feels like people do things alone, but if you look at your accomplishments, you realize there were people there, or there was somebody that you looked up to, or something. There's always somebody that can be there to help. And for you, you were not afraid to say, hey, I need $5,000 to get this going. Let's go out there and get this work done.
Exactly.
Can't be afraid to go after what you want.
No, you can't. And if you are, I mean, that's why you have your network and you have your support group there to kind of hold you accountable. And accountability is not necessarily always someone like, okay, you know, girl, you know, you should be doing that, but it's also too encouraging. Being there and just holding you accountable to know, like, yeah, I know you can do this, and I'm gonna, you know, hold your hand through this whole process.
Yes, we held your hand. It was a community effort.
It really was.
It was fun, though. It was fun to watch this process. I mean, not for you, because you were going through it, but it was fun to watch this process.
Yeah, I guess it was like, woo-hoo, I'd recommend it for everybody, but hey, you know, this is what builds character, isn't that what they say?
Was that a question mark? This is what builds character?
Yeah, I think I got a hell of a lot of character by now.
Yeah, you do, hon. You do. So and then after, so there's that, because that was finished last year or year before? Last year.
It was, oh my gosh, it was last year.
Yeah, it was last year.
Yeah.
But in between that, because while you're working on your dream, you mentioned the other documentaries you worked on. You mentioned Stanley Nelson and Firelight.
Yes.
Firelight, yes. And then you started doing work with, I'm going to say it's Henry Louis Gates.
People with S's. I mean,
I know, Henry Louis Gates.
With Henry Louis Gates, which I'll refer to as Skip from
That's why I was like,
right off.
that's good, because she's always like, yeah, I'm gonna run off to wherever. I gotta do some stuff for Skip.
Skip. Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
So
So
yeah,
let's talk about the ones that you did. Because I'm all excited because every time you tell me about a project, I'm like, my girl! Yes. So I'm gonna stay still just a little bit so people can kind of hear what you're talking about.
So my first project with Skip was on Reconstruction, which you can still see. A lot of the stuff you can see actually on PBS. It's on PBS Passport, so it's like $5 for a membership. So support your local PBS station, folks. We're,
Yeah, and it's
like,
worth it because you
literally
get to
give
learn
us
so much on PBS. So plug,
yeah.
plug.
I mean, I don't get me started. I mean, I love Mr. Rogers. That's another story, though. I really love Mr. Rogers.
But let's talk about Reconstruction. So you worked on Reconstruction.
Reconstruction, and I was the director producer of Hour 3, and Reconstruction looked at for a wonderful time in our country when all men were created equal, when we had Black senators not only in Congress on a national level but also on a local level, and
Yeah.
many of us, myself included, I don't remember what I was taught about Reconstruction, but it was not what I actually what we created whatsoever. So
Right.
really, it was timely. I mean, it was literally we're doing the project, we're reading these articles and these headlines about president rolls back this, rolls back that, and this is like 1877, and I'm like, whoa, are we in like reading the headlines of today? So we just had this joke of like, same headline, different font. Literally different font. So it was just kind of like one of those, I mean, it sounds cliche, but it's so true. If you don't know your history, you're doomed to repeat it. And literally it was, it's just cyclical over and over again. And just knowing the time period between when we were able to vote to when we actually, those votes were restricted and taken back till the Civil Rights Movement. I mean, that's 100+ years.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's, in the South. In the North, you could vote, but there was a lot of issues there too. So, we did that. It, obviously did very well and is very, very, very relevant today, especially with judicial system. I mean, that's how you have the prison system that you have today. It was initiated, during that time period of following Reconstruction, which is referred to as the Redeemer years. So, they got to redeem themselves, and we can who they is. So that project, I just recently, actually I just did the color correction for episode 3, and we're doing the color correction for episode 4 tomorrow. My first wonderful opportunity to series produce Skip's latest documentary, which is on the Black Church, which is the title. I'm going back and forth. We went so back and forth on the title, but this is our story, this is our song. So it's the Black Church, this is our story, this is our song. And so that is the project that we are, wrapping on now. And we are looking at the history of Christianity within the Black Church. And we recognize too that it's not monolithic. So we do discuss, it's 4 hours also, I should add. We do discuss Islam. We do discuss, other religions, and also what I did.
Black folks.
Exactly.
Got a little bit of everything.
And what a lot of people may not know is that Islam was actually here before there were enslaved Africans that were brought here that were Muslim and were practicing Muslims. So, and
now it's funny. So there's that, and then the other thing that people. So there was Islam here practiced amongst the enslaved, but also that Christianity was practiced in Ethiopia in the fourth. Was it fourth? It was like 400 years after. No, it was less than that. But Christianity was practiced in Ethiopia forever.
Yeah.
Forever. So when people are like, Black people didn't do Christianity till we got here, it's like, no, actually, this is part of. Y'all need to study. Like, listen. Like the oldest churches in the world are carved into the mountains in Ethiopia.
Exactly. And also there was Catholicism was introduced in Western Africa as well. So yeah, and we also too talk about the elephant in the room, which is how the Bible was used to subdue. We found there was a Bible that was using the British, a British Bible that was used, where they removed most of the, pretty much all of the New Testament. They moved majority of Exodus, because what is Exodus about? It's about freedom. It's about liberation.
About freedom.
And
Yeah.
what is Jesus about? Jesus is about freedom and liberation, and but they were promoting the docile servant and the meekness and obey your master.
Right.
So, we discuss that, and we take it all to present day. So it's really, it's a love letter to a degree to the Black church, and just talking about, it's complex. It's not perfect.
Right.
It talks about just the amazing artistry that came out of the church in terms of music.
Oh, forget it.
So,
yeah.
And we also deal with the other issue in terms of the stained glass, as Vashon McKenzie calls the stained glass ceiling, in terms of not many women being on the pulpit, and her being the first female bishop in over the AME's over 100-year-old. I think it was 200 years. I think it was that she was the first AME bishop, female bishop. And then of course, LGBTQ, and where are they in this space of faith, and how in some instances they are being turned away. But there's some churches that are really that recognize that, hey, you're God's children too. So there's so much, and you just know from your production days that it's almost like, kill your darlings, because there's many rich stories that unfortunately we cannot tell due to time, and also due to lack of archival. That's
right.
the thing, people, and the thing is, we hardly had any pictures taken of us, and if we did, we're sitting behind a bag of cotton, we're to feel thick in it. So, preserve your family archive, take photos of it, and just save it, because it is one of the greatest gifts that you can have. Greatest gifts. So
true.
Yeah.
So true. I know you learned so much. Here you talked about when you did Reconstruction and how you learned all these things doing that documentary, which I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna stress to everyone, you really should watch it, because it's amazing. All four, but the third is I'm biased because that's the one she directed and produced. But you do learn so much. And you do turn around and go, what in the world were they teaching me in school? What happened? But there's that, we can stay focused on the why didn't they teach, and that is another story. But you have all these other things that can help you to fill in all of those gaps. And documentaries like this do that.
And these are documentaries being told by us, which is through our lens, which is a totally different experience and a totally different way of storytelling. So, and that's another privilege, is that, where I'm telling with other people that look like me. And that makes a world of difference. That makes a world of difference.
Yeah, having that power, the power behind the lens, that's, we had the whole Oscars so white, and we had all these different things, but very true. But it's getting those people who look like us, or who look like America, in the rooms where decisions are made. And as you say, like, you're doing these documentaries about the Black experience, and there are Black people who are behind, not just behind the lens, but who are behind the power and the narrative, and on making sure that our stories are being told properly. And the good thing is, when we tell our stories, we get the good, the bad, the great, the not so great. Like, we are like, look, this is what we've got. This is who we are.
Yeah, and we have to be willing to take that, to share all of it. We are a rich people. We are, we have stuff under the rug that's not so pleasant, but we have some stuff that's absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And we, as we tell our own stories, we have a way of really balancing that, and not sensationalizing one thing over the other. but giving it a fair balance and do justice on all that.
Right.
So,
Right. That
that's,
makes sense.
yeah. And
Thank
with that point, now I've moved on to another project with Skip, talking about balance, and this is a more celebratory piece, looking at life in the color line, during like segregated North, segregated South, and just the world, the nation within a nation that we formed during these times up into present day, up into now. So up into Black Twitter, up till,
Black Twitter. I love Black Twitter. Oh,
and, and all of that. So it's kind of like, I mean, granted, there's going to be some stuff that it's like, okay, this is not, all kumbaya, but yeah, it's showing that we had to create these world within a world, and we still need those safe spaces, with all the changes which we're reading about, and with, all the continued killings of, Black bodies, we're still going to need those safe spaces as Black people. Sure.
Right. One of the safe spaces, which you can definitely speak on, Miss Dillard. But one of the things we're going to talk about, Miss Dillard. So on Sunday, I had Leslie on, who she went to my mom's school, Mommy. She went to Hampton. So we, of course, discussed HBCUs and stuff. So can't not talk about HBCUs. It's one thing for you to have gone to one. So she went to Dillard, hence the Miss Dillard. That's why I wrote on her thing, Forever Miss Dillard, because we still call her that.
And I'm wearing Dillard's colors.
See?
But yes, I am. Go see you.
Forever Miss Dillard. But you didn't just go. We touched on this earlier. You did a documentary. You worked on a documentary about HBCUs, historically Black colleges and universities. So kind of talk about you obviously had your own experience, but kind of touch on what it was like to do that documentary, pushed up against your own personal experience. So what was that like? I know what it was like, because you were like, but I want you to share it with them. Share with everybody exactly what that was like for you to work on that.
It was wonderful. It was, again, I did not know a lot of the history. I thought I did, but I mean, you're talking about over 100 HBCUs that exist today, and there were more than that at the turn of the century, because there was just, I mean, that's what we wanted to do when we were our ancestors, is learn how to read, to educate. I mean, one of my favorite stories came out of the archives of Spelman, and someone wrote, one of the founders wrote, just how you had women who were walking miles just to go to school and miles just to get back home, and how you had grandmothers and children in the same space. So, I mean, it just really was beautiful, just seeing by any means necessary, just how valuable education is.
Yeah.
And also, too, we had, it was fun because I got to go to some homecomings that I never made it to. I went to Howard's homecoming for the first time, and I'm very happy I did not go until later, because I would have lost my mind if I went to Dillard.
I'm still surprised you didn't go to a Howard homecoming while you were in school, because I know I did when I was in school. Everybody, that's like a rite of passage almost, no matter what school you go to.
Yeah, Louisiana is a little bit of a hike, though, to,
I was in Atlanta. Well,
you're close. You're a little bit closer than me. And also, too, I mean, I'm in New Orleans. I have Mardi Gras. I'm like,
oh, I know. Well, we have Freaknik. Just saying.
Yeah, Freaknik. Which I don't know where I was underneath the road. Like, I don't know why. I think by the time, Freaknik. I miss Freaknik, but Freaknik was going crazy by that time too. But I felt that, like, I mean, we went to Howard, we went to North Carolina A&T, we went to Morehouse, Spelman, their homecoming. I'm trying to think if we could go anyone else's. Those were the ones that we went to, and I felt like it was like going to your cousins, like a family reunion. Now, granted, they're all different schools, but it was still just, it was like love. And if Ivies can say, if you had a bunch of Ivies of Harvard and Brown and in the same room, if they would give each other a hug, But I
Yeah.
think at HBCUs, we still, we'd be like, we would be like, okay, there's some rivalry there, but there's still love. And that's what I really thought was just wonderful. And just people's enthusiasm. And I think this also too, we interviewed some amazing people, some of whom attended HBCUs in the 40s. Our oldest interview
In the 40s.
Yeah, our oldest was 99 years old, and he attended St. Augustine University, and he played football. So that was where we had a couple. They met at Fisk, and they've been married for over, I think, almost 70 years.
Wow.
And then we had this other woman, she had got accepted into a white school. They came to visit her, and they're like, yeah, no, you can't go because you have to share a dorm room. Dottie is her name, and they're going to Bennett. She became a Bennett Belle, and it was one of her most memorable experiences. So I think just hearing those stories was just also beautiful, and just connecting, just with people that I normally wouldn't even get to meet, and also be able to tell their stories, which is always a privilege.
Their stories are so important because you think about all that we have. You think about how far we've come, because I'll stay on the positive for a moment. Think about how far we've come. I mean, we are the descendants of folks who were killed if they wanted to learn to read. We are the descendants of folks who made a way. They in the midst of made a way. So we are the descendants of those folks. And then you think about those who went to school, who they are the same people who are part of a system where they were going to be killed for learning to read, and then next thing you know, they're part of a system that where they can get a degree. Like, that is progress. Now, granted, yes, we've got a long way to go, but we've come so far. And just to hear you talk about the fact that you met someone who went to school in the 40s. I mean, that's, granted, I've got my grandparents, and they, went to HBCUs back then as well. And I got to hear the stories, but just to be able to have people be exposed to stories like that through your work has to be just, I think, yes, our people need to see it. I think it's an American story. It's the American story of Black folks in this country, and I love that you're able to bring that out. And it has to be said. It's very important that these stories are told, and that they're told correctly.
Yes, exactly.
They're told correctly.
Exactly.
Amplify those voices. Those voices from back then deserve to be heard because they're the ones that fuel us now.
Yeah. And that was so. I mean, one thing is I had no idea that there were 3 HBCUs. I think one I had heard about, but there were 3 shootings in the 70s on HBCUs.
Yes. Yeah.
And there were casualties on all of these incidents.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we hear about Kent State, but we don't hear about Mississippi. We don't hear, I think it's South Carolina, I'm forgetting, and Southern University of Baton Rouge. We don't know. You
don't hear about that. I was surprised when I saw the documentary. I was like, whoa, I'd never heard of that. There were a couple of instances.
And there's footage, too, like news footage of these young men at Southern University of Baton Rouge being gunned down by National Guard.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, it was, what are you drinking, water?
I'm drinking water. What are you drinking? Wine.
Blue wine. It's blue.
How is that? How is it?
It's yummy. It's yummy. I'll bring you some.
Yes, please do.
I'll bring you some. It goes really well with fish. Hint, hint. That's what you can make when I bring you some.
Oh, thank you. Oh,
yeah. No, no. Hold up. When you're making the fish, I'm bringing the wine. You're making it. Now you pull back a little bit.
Can I get famous fish? Does that count?
I'm trying not to do fried food, boo.
Okay. All right, I won't make famous.
I have a waistline to honor.
Yeah. I
have a heart to look to. My waistline mostly from my heart, not because I want to look cute.
Moderation, right? All about moderation, right?
Fine, famous it is.
Yes.
You see how Famous, y'all, is on for those of you who are not in the city, Famous is on 145th and St. Nick.
And it's the only time you'll see Black folks in line in the wintertime outside
That's
to get some food.
only time. Standing outside because the place is probably this big. I think that's as big as it is. Like one person can fit another person. I don't know how they're doing during COVID, but only one person can pretty much go through there. But they fed me when I went back to school. I went to City College. They fed me.
And
Ooh,
yes,
honey.
SCS BBP is making fish. I see that joke over there. I'm making fish through Famous.
I know. You know what? Fine. I'll bring the blue wine, but
I can make fish. I can make fish.
Okay, so make it.
I can make fish. I can make
Make
fish.
it.
I can
Okay.
make it.
Sorry, y'all. The running joke is Stacey can eat everybody out of freaking house and home, yo. She comes over. She knows where the snack closet is. In all of the homes I've been in since she has known me, she's like, "Where's the snack closet?" And she just goes right there. So every time she comes over, because she's never a guest, she just goes straight for the food.
Okay, and I see someone knows that spot, and also someone is passing on my fish. Forget you. Anyway, my fish is good. I mean, the thing is, why do I compete when I have amazing friends like you who can cook? Hello.
Oh my God. Hello. Well, you know what? Yeah, we'll cook together. I'll bring something over.
I'm a great
We'll mask it up. We'll mask it up and drink it up and social distance it up and all that good stuff.
Exactly. We'll practice.
Exactly. Sorry. Sidebars. That's what those are. Did I say Stacey and I have known each other since '98? Oh my God. We haven't just known each other. Like we clicked and we have never unclicked.
And the funny thing too is a friend, like my spiritual mom, who knew Tifa, kept telling me, "Oh, I have this couple that I want you to meet. I think you guys would get along great." And I was staying with Adrian at the time. I'm like, okay.
Yes.
Okay, this is where we sound really bougie. We're on the vineyard. We're on the vineyard for our festival. We're on the vineyard, and all of a sudden, and you were working with HBO for the time, and we just started talking, and it was just like, so you were like one of those friends who cannot remember not being friends with you. So
I know. Just she was there, but I met you the year after I got married the first time. What an old! I'm such a Zsa Zsa Gabor.
So last longer than marriages sometimes, folks.
Sometimes they do. You're so right. So, but we met, and she was there when I left film, when I worked Bank Street, when I worked for myself, when I did this. She was there when I had my baby. She was really there.
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah, we bonded extra when I had my child. She helped throw my baby shower, and my kid is 20. So just so you know, like that's how. And then when we still lived in Harlem, she would take him every November to go down and watch the marathon runners. So she would be like, "All right, I'm coming to get my baby boy," and she'd grab him up, put him in the stroller, and off she went. He was gone for a few hours, and it was kind of lovely, but that was the thing. And she's a good auntie. But that kind of segues into, speaking of marathons, this chick right here has run, how many marathons have you run so far?
Three.
Are you sure look at me, are you sure? Wait. Wait, only 3? I feel like you ran New York, I
did Philly, New York, and then I did Marine Corps.
The military.
Military, yeah. Marine Corps.
Right. That was in DC.
Yep.
That was fun.
For New York, you were there for DC.
Yeah, that was fun. I was not there for Philly. I wish I could have been, because I would have been standing on the sideline with a cheesesteak. Would have been, because that was where I was still eating cheesesteaks.
I have another one in me, so it's just a matter of when. When will marathons be back? Who knows? Oh,
and then there's that. Yeah. So you're still running though, right? You're still.
That has been my sanity. I think just, being able to get out, to run, even if it's just a mile, it's getting out. It's
right.
And yeah. And not too many people, I mean, depending on what
Oh,
day that you
hey,
go,
Ashley.
um,
Yeah,
but I'm out there. I have to get out
I
there.
know. It's getting outside is something. It has been my sanity. I walk every morning. Sometimes if I have the time, I'm like, I try to push it. Exactly how long do I have between clients? If I have a client, I'm thankful. So I'm like, how long can I get out there? How long can I just be outside? There's something about it. It definitely helps your because you know I gotta. It definitely helps your
And I do run to this place, and I will run back.
yeah, and that's a few blocks away. It you know what? And that so there's the marathons, yes, but I want that to segue into because we talked about being outside and you're running. I used to run, so now I don't run, but I walk. And we talked about how it helps with our sanity, like it really helps to keep us together. And I want to segue into the fact that us saying it helps us with our sanity is not. We can't say that lightly, Stacey and I. We can't say it lightly. Let's segue into mental health, and there's 8 million ways for us to talk about this. And yeah, we're going to get a little personal here and hopefully getting personal can help someone who watches this. Um, but we'll start with one thing and then segue into everything else. So let's start with one of the reasons why you run. And we talked about for your sanity. So let's talk about that, the real on that.
Yeah. I mean, for the health reason, it helps your endorphins and it helps all that. However, I think it was in 2012, was it, or 20 something? I had always dealt with depression. And I don't really talk about it, but I've dealt with it. And my thing is everyone should spend some time on a couch. It is a great thing.
The
Couch,
therapist couch, y'all.
therapist couch, everybody. A good therapist. There are some ones who are just there to kind of just get your money and just to whatever, pop you with pills. And however, there was a certain point where I actually started experiencing something. Looking back now, I see I had it earlier on, but it started really taking over, and that was anxiety. So I was dealing with depression on top of anxiety, and I was having an anxiety attacks. And just to show you how God moves in different ways, I was on a shoot when it all started just coming out,
Yeah.
and it wasn't that I was just on a shoot in New York. I started noticing it when we were on a shoot in New York, and I had to leave the next day for the West Coast. And then I wasn't going straight home after that. I was going to Chicago. And then out of Chicago, I was coming home. So I was away for at least probably like a week. However, just to, and one thing, my faith has been really big and instrumental in just getting me through this, is that in each of those places, God had somebody there to support me. Had one of my dear friends, Blake, was there in San Francisco. Had my other bestie, Katera, in Chicago, who was there. And for me, it was one of those things, too, where I had to realize, I realized there was a problem and I was not okay. And the scary thing about it is that you're spiraling downhill and you just don't know how to put the brakes on. You don't know where to stop. And again, time gives you a chance to kind of reflect and just see kind of where things kind of went left. And sometimes you may never know the answers. However,
Right.
just kind of, and I should also say, I was reaching out to another friend of ours, Tony, who was, I knew something was right and I was wrong. So, she's praying me up through this. However, my mom, who ended up coming to help me, and meanwhile, I'm still holding down a day job and still in production. She said, depression demands respect. And I was expecting it. In that time, I got hooked up with an amazing therapist who is just an amazing, hard-nosed, keeps it real person. And he recognized and he knew that running is important. And so he was like, I need you to run for 10 days straight. And it was hard. It was hard. And I would do literally a mile, because and doing a mile was hard, but I did it 10 days straight. And during that course of the 10 days, it just started doing, it was another one of my weapons in my toolbox. And that's what I really needed. I had this toolbox, and I didn't know what was in it. And I need to start creating tools to put in that. And running was one of them. Prayer was another one. And it goes on and building on it. And so hence the running. And I know anytime I'm feeling a moment of anxiety, a moment of just confusion, and I feel like, oh my gosh, I go for a run. A mile will do it for me.
Right.
If I can do 3 miles because of the time, whatever time I have, I'll do it. However, and for me personally, I can't listen to music, and I thank my dad for that, because he's like, you listen to, but granted, he listened to music when he ran, which I'm like, didn't make any sense, but he encouraged me. And I was like a boutique runner. I would run because you got to stay fit. You got to get, hey, I had to, fit in some clothes, so I went running.
Yeah.
But he said, listening to music distracts you from your thoughts. And it's true. So, as I'm running, it allows me to kind of just talk to myself, talk through stuff, be still, and just be present. And that's the biggest thing. That's a hard thing, because, we disguise depression in many ways. We disguise it. I was using work. But I wasn't productive in my work. So you have work, you have alcoholism, you have sex, there's so many, and I say these things not as a clinical therapist, but I say these things because, I've not like I've done those things, but I just know from studying for myself and understanding how depression can work and informs itself, especially among people of color, and especially among Black men. Every single Black man should be on a couch. I will just say that. And I think any person who is on a couch, that does not mean you are less than, does not mean that you are anything but who you are. It just means that that you need to be better. You want to be better. And the best thing is taking care of your mind, as well as your body.
Yeah. Taking care of your mind. Actually, this is why I say I'm in wellness, because I understand you have to take care of your mind, and a lot of things come from your mindset. And I had to start feeling that therapy and seeking ways to be better mentally is really a very powerful thing. I love that you said it doesn't make you less than. And I love that you're saying it now, because these are things Stacey and I have had many, 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 many discussions and talks, because we've had to talk each other through things. And it's I think also, once the mindset shifts of thinking that, okay, if I get on a couch, I'm weak. If I'm this, if you seek guidance or therapy, that you must be weak, that there's something wrong with you. And I'm going to stand here with Stacey and tell you, if you seek therapy, it's a very powerful thing. And listen to her. She's got a toolbox. So understand, therapy is one thing.
It's one,
it's one aspect, but it's an important aspect. And I love the toolbox. She's always said that to me. You got to have these tools in your toolbox. And you do. You really, really do. You have to have those things that you can pull upon when for me, when depression is always this underlying, like there's always something that is doing, there's always something that's doing this, right? And just understanding that you have something in your toolbox that allows you to kind of push back against that without feeling overwhelmed, that gives relief to that when it becomes overwhelming, because sometimes it goes like this. And it's good to know that you have that toolbox. And it's also good, we're going back to that community and support system. It's good to know that you have support.
Exactly.
Very good to know.
I always describe depression as an itch you can't scratch. You can never scratch it. And I also think of it as you know, one of those things too, that even though you can't scratch that itch, you know, you can ease it, you know, you can ease it. And I think you have to recognize it's there. And I think you have to know the why sometimes, why you're feeling this way, why this was triggered. And that took me a while to, and it still takes me some time to recognize.
Yeah, it's a journey.
You know, but it's a daily thing, you know, it's a daily thing. So,
it is.
Yeah.
And I hope that we can, especially in our community, and yes, Black men do have some emotional and psychological scars. Scars. We all, but especially, what'd you say?
Rightfully so. Like,
rightfully so. I mean, but it's funny because you think about like this moment in time, which when you talk about learning from history and doomed to repeat, it's like I feel like I was watching the documentary on John Lewis, and I'm like, geez, this brother was doing this way back when, and now he's like, I can't believe I'm still trying to pass bills. Like, why am I still doing the same thing I did when I was getting beat upside the head? Like, what's going on? But just knowing that it would be great to find ways to help our community understand we have to shake off the stigma of getting help and mental health as a thing, because even now you think about the trauma that we're all going through. We are continuously fed images of us getting beaten, or the footage has been released of the actual shooting of, it's like, oh my God, that's traumatizing. And so you think about us in our age range, because you are, well, you're older than me. But you think about folks in our age range, because we're both 49. You'll be the 50. Shouldn't look like it because she's freaking fabulous. But you think about us in our age range and the things that we went through, and we did go through some stuff. In the 80s and 90s, blah, 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 definitely not as much as our parents did. So if you think about what's going on now and how we are traumatized, think about those who went through this then. So in the 50s, they were inundated with these images and all of this stuff, or maybe some of them were actually marching or going through it. They're being re-traumatized.
Yeah.
So we have this society, this culture, these folks, us, that are being traumatized on all kinds of levels at this point. Hence why mental health is so important to look at, to understand that it's real.
Exactly.
It's real. It is so real. We have to understand that. We have, and like you said, we have to respect it.
Yeah, because it will knock you out. It will knock you out.
It will.
It's important as we talk about community. It's important to hear people. I do not take anything lightly. If someone says they're feeling a certain way, I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
If someone needs to talk, just listen. And not everybody wants a solution. I mean, I think they just need to, and that's the thing about therapy. Therapy is talking. Therapy is your therapist is quiet and you are talking. They may chime in every once in a while, but it's you talking and hearing yourself. And that's what community is. It's your friend, it's your family member who will let you just be vulnerable. And I think that's the thing too, is allowing ourselves to be vulnerable, to know that we don't know all the answers. And, and also this visual stuff is PTSD. Like I do remember from Freedom Riders, there was this one of the students that was on the bus. He actually said to the producer, he's like, I don't know if what I did anything. And it took us months to find him. And when we found him, he was it was a difficult interview because he suffered from PTSD from all of this. And I knew, that was a new way of me understanding, like, yeah, you're being beaten, you're being attacked, you're being, PTSD is real. And
very much so.
It's important just to find that safe space.
Thank you. She said event trauma triggers all original contextual and developmental trauma that we all share. Who is that? She said, hi, Stacey.
Oh, I got Kat. Hi, Kat. Oh, my God. One of my NYU fam.
Mm.
She's a yogi too. She's a yogi. You two are yogis.
Oh, hey, Yogi. I love it.
Um,
Love it.
but yeah, so I think, you know, the one thing we can't take care of is ourself and our vessel. And there's
Yeah.
so many resources out there. I mean, if your family and friends aren't available, there's, you know, there's other resources there, and
Yes.
reach out to them. I mean, I do pray that people will recognize, healthcare will recognize that. I mean, and psychiatrists aren't cheap. You know that
No, not.
mind is important and it should be taken care of. So,
Yes,
she's
most definitely.
teaching yoga and nonviolent communication. Oh, wonderful!
Oh, yeah.
Lots of
You know
toolbox
what?
tools.
Who is that? You should DM me because I was doing something on that too. So we should
Yeah,
talk.
I'll introduce you guys. You guys will be great.
That works. That
Um,
works.
so yeah, so I mean, it's like hey, the other thing analogy again, my mom. What did they tell you to do
Always
in the
mom.
airplane? Always mom. Is put
We
the
love
mask
mom.
on first when you're on an
I
airplane.
know.
It's
You're
like
so good at telling people that, Stace.
I try to practice it too. I try to
Yeah, we're good at throwing it back at you too, though. We're good at throwing that back at you. I'm like, you throw words at me, and I'm like, I sit, drop my head like a puppy, and then I relish the moments I can throw this stuff back at you. And you're like, oh, Tifa, creative avoidance, huh? Like, oh, yeah,
Who asked you
probably.
anyway? Who asked you anyway?
Who asked you? Who asked you? So I want you to leave everyone, because we have a few more minutes. What would you like to leave everyone with? Give a final thought, and while you're giving that final thought, I'm going to be off screen for like 5 seconds, but something that you feel people need to hear, whether it's about you or just something that is on your soul that you feel people need to hear right now. And go.
I would say encouraged. I feel like it's in this pandemic, which I think is a perfect storm. I mean, you have COVID, you have social unrest and justice. I mean,
Yeah.
you cannot make this stuff up. You really can't. However, I think it's just, I kept telling people I'm maintaining, and I think I'm saying that maintaining encouragement, maintaining health, maintaining hope, maintaining just being. And I would put an encouraging adjective after that. So, and be gentle with yourself. I mean, I'm trying to do that with myself right now. Every day, sometimes, more days than not. Be gentle with ourselves. So.
Thank you, honey. Wait.
Thank you.
So give me a number between 1 and 8.
8.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I am enough. So your card for the day is I am enough. So the thought I want everyone to walk away from this conversation, the last one, because that's my new thing now. I'm like, what are we going to end with?
I love that.
Is I am enough. And I think that just happens to go so well with, as we speak on, recognizing our power, recognizing our voices, recognizing what hard work, the fruits of your hard labor, so to speak, and just recognizing that hard work counts for something, and community and all that. But even in the midst of asking for all that, you are still enough. You are enough. Stacey, I love you, honey.
I love you too.
Stacey, my
and your
butt.
workouts kick my butt. Thank you.
I know, man.
Your
I
steps are dangerous. Your steps are dangerous. Oh my gosh. And PowerFit will work it.
It's dangerous. Yes, I'm dangerous. I get folks in shape. So, honey, I love you. I thank you for coming on tonight.
Thank you so much.
All right, honey.
Thank you.
And thank you, everybody, for watching.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.